We are Southeastern 16. I'm Chase Robinson. That is Chris Lee. As we will talk Florida versus Texas A&M in the first SEC game for these two teams. Should be an interesting one down in the swamp as Texas A&M comes to Gainesville as a 4.5-point favorite with a line of 47.5 points. We will dive into this matchup after we talk to you about BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. If you think you know your stuff, you can get in on a $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, you can go to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker or one of the over 150 slots games. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. All right, let's start with Florida offensively because I think that's where a lot of questions are. We were recording this on Monday, September the 9th. There is no word out really on Graham Mertz, what the status of his injury was. He was in concussion protocol this past weekend. DJ Lagway got the start, put up some big yards against Samford. So I think a lot of questions are, one, what's the status of Graham Mertz, which with the injury reports now that are required of the SEC, we'll find out the player's status on Wednesday of game week. But also I think another question, Chris, we have to pose is, what does Billy Napier do moving forward? Do you go back to Graham Mertz when he's healthy, or do you stay with DJ Lagway?
Well, look, I get that it was Samford, but when you throw it 25 times for 456 yards and you're a top 5 prospect in the recruiting class and you're Billy Napier and your fan base isn't exactly on your side and you've struggled out of the gate in your opener, to put it mildly, I think you almost have to do it. Now, will he do it? I don't know. We're doing this on Monday, but I mean, and look, it's not like if they go with Graham Mertz, it's not like that's bad either, but my goodness, if you're Florida, we've talked about that schedule and how tough it's going to be. And you've already gotten off to a bad start. We said that if you don't beat Miami, it's hard to see a path to a winning season. I feel like you need something out of the box to jumpstart your program. And that would feel like the perfect opportunity, but also know coaches are a lot of times pretty set on the idea of not letting their starter lose the job by virtue of injury. And look, Graham Mertz last year was really good, super accurate, through 3 picks. So there's some defending it, but I feel like this is sort of a special circumstance. And this is a team that's got some limitations otherwise, especially on defense. You may need that out of the box guy that can give you the chance to win games, 41-38, which I think maybe if Florida's going to surprise, that might be the path. To me, it's DJ Lagway is the common sense option, but we just don't know what that looks like as we're doing this Monday morning.
Right. And, it may be one of those things. Graham Mertz is healthy. You put Lagway in, you see how he starts against a team like Texas A&M and see how it goes from there. But I think Billy Napier is in a interesting situation with these two guys. And I think it's got to come down to who gives your team the best chance to win. And, maybe that's Lagway after what we saw from him. So that'll be interesting. Also in the win over Samford for Georgia, Montrell Johnson, 15 carries, 67 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Several receivers got touches for touchdowns as well. Looking at this offense as a whole, Chris, you're facing a Texas A&M team who, Mike Elko is known for his defense. That should make for an interesting time here to see how Florida's offense, one, responds with whoever's in at quarterback, but what they're able to do against a Mike Elko defense.
Well, defense, I've got some questions about too. And look, the stats have been okay. The problems, in the Notre Dame loss was the offense, but you didn't get any sacks against an inexperienced offensive line. And then last week, you give up 180 yards rushing to McNeese State, and it's not a good FCS team. Maybe that's playing down to your competition, but I think maybe the Montrell Johnson aspect of the game is the one we should be talking about more. Everybody's going to be talking about the quarterback, but hey, Florida can keep the ball. Johnson's one of the best backs in the league. A&M's defense needs to step up a little bit from what we've seen the first couple of games in various respects here. I think the A&M can win it anyway without those things happening, but I think that's a key to watch.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that as well, Chris. And when you look at Texas A&M offensively, Connor Weigman, the quarterback for this team, struggled in the Week 1 game against Notre Dame. There's really no denying that. On Saturday in their 52-10 win against McNeese, he was 11-14, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. I feel like we're still kind of waiting for him to get into a rhythm, to provide some consistency. And I think this could be a week where he kind of stands out and does provide some consistency.
Well, we still don't have any identity with that offense. I mean, Weigman was improved last week, 11-14 for $125, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and probably could have done more. But A&M was up huge at half. What was it, 38-0? So that took away from the opportunity for him to do more. But we still don't know who their top receiving target is. I guess backfield just going to be a committee at this point, which they're not bad there. But offensive line concerns were a little bit of a problem for A&M, I think, in game 1 and maybe coming into the season, in particular, I think the right side of the line, if I remember correctly. You face an elite defense in Week 1, and they got the better of you in that matchup. Last week, again, hard to tell. I think there's better things ahead for A&M, but just hard to know by what we've seen the first 2 weeks, especially against McNeese State. We weren't going to learn much there. But on the other side, Chase, we talked about how this is not a vintage Florida defense either, right? Pass rush was a problem coming into the season. We couldn't really readily identify an ace pass rusher on that squad, and I don't know that we've got any answers there heading into Week 3 too. I mean, it's an okay defense. You got Jason Marshall Jr., but it's not a dominating one for sure. But then again, you need to dominate given what we've seen from A&M.
Right, and I think that's the key. And I think that's what makes this the matchup that it is because the questions on one side is maybe the strength of the other side. And so I think that's what's really intriguing to me about this matchup is that, they may not be the best in the world in the conference, but the other side is lacking in that area as well. And so that's what's intriguing to me about this one. And I think there is a lot to learn about this Florida defense and what they can do. But I'm really intrigued by, I think, what we're going to see in this game on Saturday night in what'll be the first SEC game for both teams. And with it being in the swamp, I have a feeling it's going to be loud, but nothing that Texas A&M is not used to.
Yeah, based on the spread, that's got it a 26-22 A&M final. I've got my model that's put together with several power rankings. It's got A&M winning this by 3, adjusting for the home field advantage. And that's something I want to hit on, Chase. I picked Florida to beat Miami in the opener based on the swamp and that atmosphere. Well, the swamp was emptying out in the third quarter, and you go look at the last 3 games Billy Napier has played at home. We know what happened Week 1 against Miami. We go back to last year, and it was a playoff caliber Florida State team. Florida lost that one at home. Go back the game before that. Inexplicably lost to an Arkansas team that couldn't score. Somehow it put up 39 last year. Did beat Vandy at home, beat Charlotte at home, and did beat Tennessee in the swamp. So there was that. But Billy Napier's record at home has just been kind of underwhelming. This feels maybe like A&M has an opportunity to play up to its potential. We thought the Aggies were better than they've shown the first couple of weeks. To be honest, I have no idea what's going to happen, especially with the Lagway wild card and the energy you can inject into that program. But A&M feels like the safer pick of the two teams, but I say that with little to no confidence.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm going with Texas A&M in this one, just until we figure out what to do with this Florida team and what to make of them. The part of me says, this could be kind of a coming out game for Florida where they're finally ready to prove something, but I still don't know if they're ready for that. I don't know if they have the pieces to do that. So I'm going to go Texas A&M in this one. They get the win on the road, but it should be interesting regardless and should be a fun one down in the swamp. We'll have you covered on that one and the rest of the SEC, as we always do here on Southeastern 16. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this video share it with your friends, and let everyone know about Southeastern 16. And if you would be interested in advertising with us, we'd love to talk to you about that as well. Caroline.smith@southeastern14.com can help you do that. And so we appreciate everyone for watching. We got you covered with SEC football, basketball, and baseball year-round here on Southeastern 16, and it's brought to you by BetOnline.